Hello, hello. How we doing tonight, guys? Can you guys confirm that you can hear me all right? I messed up some settings earlier. Just want to confirm. Awesome, awesome. Hopefully all is well and everything went well today. I mean, I'm looking at the daily candle here and it looks like a rough one. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was not trading today. I was doing some manual labor for like once in my life, helping out the family business. So I was not present at the charts today, and I'm not gonna lie, I am quite happy for it. It seemed like a pretty slow day, but there are still some frameworks, and it is definitely worth us looking into. Let's go down to the 15-minute, right? As we saw on the daily chart, not much happened there. And on the 15-minute, we can clearly see why it's a high resistance day, right? We take sell side, we take buy side. Of course, for ES, we did not initially take previous day high, but then we traded far above it, while NASDAQ had a hard time returning to these levels at the end of the day, even though we did end up reaching them actually perfectly with lunch high, right? Oh, lunch high was a tick higher. Okay, dude. Just to piss me off here. Love the perfection, but it was not present. So pretty straightforward, right? No London framework to look at, right? Everything was taken out pre 9:30. Previous day high was taken out, but we just continue with the same bias we had going into yesterday. Thinking cap is on. Love to hear that, Anart. Love to hear that. So what do we look for, right? What am I always looking for in a bullish market? Well, I'm looking for a candle that would form bullish. So I'm looking for price to open. I'm looking for the sequence for us to go form a low, to then expand towards a high, and then retrace to a close, right? This simple framework is what I look for a bullish candle. Pretty straightforward. It doesn't mean it will always look the same. Like, for example, today we went and formed a low at 10 a.m. We did have news all the way up to 10 a.m. I would consider taking trades before then, more specifically for 9:45, because that was our high impact news. But if you guys remember, new home sales for me is a high impact news. So I would be waiting, actually. I need to correct myself as I did not trade today. I would be waiting for 10 a.m. But what happened most importantly that would have given us our signal that we are now ready to look for trades is the SMT that we formed with that 10 a.m. swing low, right? I always say it, SMT for me is all about timing, and that 10 a.m. news right here, right, brought some SMT. So of course we traded lower on ES right after, but that SMT was valid at 10 a.m. and we formed some beautiful SMT in a discount of a recent 15-minute range. I'm not gonna lie, this is not something I'd use. I'd use the entire range and look for a deeper retracement to a discount, but we did not see that today. And we don't need to. We're trading at all-time highs. We're in extremely bullish conditions. So I don't like to frame specific targets for bearish retracements that are counter an aggressive trend. SMT gives me my timing. SMT tells me, hey, now you can look for longs. So let's go down to the 1-minute chart here and look for longs. Best way to put it. I want to showcase to you guys the shorts, but for myself, these are never trades I take. First of all, 10 a.m. news. So right away, I like to go on my indicator and change this filter. Okay, but here, your first trade available here is 10:14. You have a short. But why am I not taking this? Because I'm bullish. There's SMT counter to my trade. I am bullish on the higher time frame. For now, we've only traded near the open or far below it. So we have a lot of resting liquidity. We formed equal highs above, and those are misdrawn. We formed relative equal highs, relative equal highs above with the 950 swing, the 930 swing, and the pre-market swing here at 745-ish. And all of that aligns beautifully with the daily open that we can see. There are just plenty of reasons to go long. And for me, personally, no reasons to go short. So because of this, I'd be looking for a framework targeting those relative equal lows after manipulation, which came at the time of the news, right? At our 10 a.m., we saw our move lower, confirmed with SMT. I always say this. Of course, I hate saying what I name it because it sounds like a janky ass, like guru concept. but it's time-based manipulation, right? It's nothing special. It's just we wait for an important news event, we look for manipulation, and we confirm it with SMT. So now, all of a sudden, I only have reasons to go long. So I like to put the indicator in that mode just so we can get a cleaner chart when reviewing, right? I did share, I think it was 2 price action reviews ago. You can actually go find it in our resources channel under educational filter. You'll find the video where I shared all of my settings and why I use them. But here, I don't even need to think. First available entry, including volume imbalances, of course, on this asset, on the NASDAQ, is this one. Now, all I have to do is count my 3 PD array stop loss rule. So I have this fair value gap, I have this order block below, and I have this swing low below. So I have my 3 PD arrays right here. I have a very tight stop on this move. What if this is too tight for my liking? Okay, just put it bigger. You guys know me. I like to go about things with a systematic approach, with a mechanical approach. 3 PD arrays tells me my stop is here. And you can see with the stop loss this tight, just targeting the 10 a.m. open, for example, offers plenty of risk to reward. Now, this isn't a reason for me to just take profit anywhere. I'm not going to lie. But in cases like these, I would be more than happy to take profit, for example, at the first premium inefficiency in this range, which as we can see here is this order block. So it does overlap actually. So this would not offer enough risk to reward. So I lied. I would actually go break even here. See, this is what happens when I don't trade a day. I'm absolutely clueless on the specifics of the trade. But see, very simple. First premium inefficiency. I don't have enough to take profit. What's my rule for that? I'll go break even then. And then you just hold. Now, of course, these swings, I'm seeing it. I'm always looking for ways to explain them to you guys correctly. But for me, I see these swings. I see that they are low resistance. They formed in close proximity. And now after this swing high here, let's just call it partial. After this swing high here, there is a lot more defense, right? There are inefficiencies. There are opening prices we could reject. So this is a great opportunity to look for a partial in my book. For me, that would be break even into a partial at this swing high. So break even on this line, partial at this swing high. Let me actually change this just so we can see a little bit better. And following that, what are you doing? I'm holding a runner. I have a clear target at these relative equal highs. And as you can see, being break even, you would have held that very, very close. Very close. But hopefully at this point in time, you've taken profits plenty. And I mean, with that risk to reward, you better. And then you're just holding a last runner at break even. That's how I personally like to trade. I don't like leaving too much money on the table, but that goes both ways. That means I love taking runners, but I need to make sure that my runners are a small percentage of my position so that they don't affect my profitability and I don't give back too much on a winning trade idea. So in this case, you could have held a runner, and I mean, it could have went far. I think I've said this like 10 times in the last 2 weeks, taking out lunch high. Why am I closing my runner there? Because I now have a counter bias. Why not long on the 1018 fair value gap? Let's go see that guy. On this guy, because I don't have a breaker block. Do we have a breaker block with SMT? I did not check that. Is there SMT on this low? There is. Wow. So even an entry just a little bit before. So you'd say why not? And I mean, there is one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going at this pretty low effort. I don't really check breaker blocks with SMT too often nowadays, because I just have the indicator to do it for me. But yes, the indicator does not currently look for SMTs or breakers. I mean, should it? Why not, right? That's something for the future for sure. But yes, this is quite a valid entry. You have a clear unicorn right here. So you could enter on this. I'm guessing this is a 1018. Yeah, 1018 fair value gap. Your stop would be down here, right? Fair value gap, order block, and inversion fair value gap. That would, of course, offer less risk to reward. But looking at this partial, our first partial, then you can go break even at this level. And then you take profit. One would probably not be here because it still does not offer enough risk to reward. But you can look to take profit as soon as we hit 1.7. You could look, for example, for this swing high. That'd be cherry picking, to be honest. For me, it's really once it hit that 1.7 mark, I want to take money out of that trade. with this SMT trade at 1018, would you take it on NQ or ES? I spoke about this at the start of the summer, all right? And actually, this is a great opportunity to answer a question that we saw in the futures chat today. I don't know if you guys follow, but Efe actually asked a question about this, and he said, right, when the markets are so uncorrelated, right, what does that mean? That means that ES and NASDAQ are not doing the same, right? We're trading indices futures. We see one being a lot more bullish, like ES these past few days, compared to NASDAQ. So we'd say that the markets are not following each other. They are very uncorrelated. What do I do in these cases? I trade ES. That's it. Because ES will always be the asset that will give direction. That is a personal opinion. It is not based on data or anything like this. It is something I have noticed through my testing. I do have to test it more in depth to give you guys an accurate reasoning behind it. But I'm always following ES in those types of cases. And so for today, for example, on that SMT trade, I'd much rather take it on ES, which is the already more bullish asset, gives you a way better entry here. You can see on an inversion fair value gap, actually. So you would have been able to enter right here, stop right here. As we can see from the risk to reward, definitely a little bit better, right? And we're looking at that first setup, which offers, like, let's just say to our objective here, 2.42, and this one all the way to lunch high. Right, what do we see at lunch high here? I'm going very approximate. 3.1, 3.76, very similar, to be honest. I'd have to agree, even though I trade NQ more, ES will deliver a bit slowly, but it won't have those larger manipulation moves. Yes, I do trade NASDAQ like 98% of my trades, and then 2% on ES. But during the summer, what I was going to say, and I actually didn't finish my idea there, but what I was going to say is that during the summer, ES tends to be a lot cleaner while NASDAQ is running on less volume. If ES tracks a larger packets of stocks, wouldn't it be technically slower than NQ? Well, it depends what you mean by slower. Slower to deliver to certain objectives? Yes. Less volatile? Yes. But will it be more efficient? Will it be more precise? In that case, then we'd have a totally different discussion, right? There are 1,000 different ways to look at the markets. I do this. During summer, I trade ES a lot more than I do NASDAQ. The rest of the year, I trade NASDAQ a lot more. It's based on seasonality. It is based on my personal experience trading these last... I started trading September 2023. Seriously trading. September 2023. So I went through 2 summers, right? That's a pretty straightforward there. Hopefully that answers some questions you guys may have, but the truth is I don't have some good answers for these moves. And yeah, definitely this would be a valid trade just to get back on point. And this is just a better trade, unfortunately. It's not better in the time of the setup. It's just better results. And yeah, I can't say much there other than the indicator does not yet consider SMT to find breaker blocks, as I usually do. But I didn't trade today, so I would have completely skipped that. So I appreciate you pointing it out, Vito. Was it you? I believe it. Yes, it was you. Awesome. So let me just move this aside here. And I'm seeing some of you guys typing. You might have some questions before we move forward to the PM session. Because yes, as always look to stop trading at 11:30, and that was the only opportunity I would ever consider. I wouldn't consider any shorts until this level was taken. That's fair enough. Fair enough. See, for me, because there is SMT there, I consider this a breaker block, and I can now look for this as an entry. A lot of people do trade that 2022 model, right, where you look for a liquidity run, a liquidity sweep, however you want to call it, right? And then you'll take a fair value gap after that sweep. 2022 model. Yes, sir. Very straightforward model. Pretty decent result. Can't complain on something like that. That being instrument specific, in cases of SMT, do you like trading breaker swing or failure swings? That's breakers as well. Okay, so failure swings with SMT. It's important to mention that the only reason why I would count this candle as a breaker block is due to that SMT. Since ES actually formed a breaker, I can treat NASDAQ as if it did. So just important to point out. And in this case, you don't want to trade the asset that is strongest in your direction. I mean, in this case, you see this recent SMT, which people like to call internal SMT or local SMT, I guess is the better word for it. Shout out to Kane. In this case, tells you that NASDAQ is stronger. But then the longer term SMT with more important swing point tells you that ES is stronger. So in this case, I would look to trade ES. That's unable to find it, but do you have a list for that news you consider red folder news? I do not currently. I used to use Forex Factory like I do now, but they change what defined the red folder news for them. Actually, Magic, what I do is I have the economic news analysis on Rise Statistics that shares data about the movements and the volatility brought by specific news events. And I look at the data depending on the news event. And if I am expecting a volatile day, then that news event is of high impact to me. And sometimes those news events, like new home sales, are marked out as orange or Forex Factory. But for me, they are important because they cause price to move. As you can see, beautiful reversal. Always considering statistical data. Just to continue moving along, as I said, I would not consider shorts until this level was met. If we just look at the PM session here and we look for shorts, actually, because I'd wait for my framework, right? What do I trade in the PM session? This is actually just like yesterday, pretty much, where we saw a lunch raid that didn't complete but still offered opportunity. So first of all, you'll notice that ES took out that lunch high at this point. So at this point, I can look to short. We formed a bearish breaker here. Let me actually pull it in bearish, because from the point where lunch high is taken, you look for lunch low to be your next target, and you're only looking for shorts, and you actually had an entry right here. And with your 3PD array stop loss rule, you'd have inversion fair value gap from your entry, then fair value gap order block. So you would have actually gotten stopped out right here, followed by another entry, still valid, right? Same framework. Sometimes it just takes a little time. 3PD array stop loss rule here. We have inversion fair value gap from your entry. You then have an order block to the left and a fair value gap above. So your stop would be here. And now this move did provide plenty of return, right? Just to a recent low right here, which would be a clear sign to take profit. Or what else can you do? You can bring in standard deviations. So this is the, actually we're using the small breaker right here. So you could use standard deviations to find a key area to take a partial in. For example, 2 to 2.5 reversal range, discount inefficiency. This is beautiful. Also very important to point out right after sweeping a liquidity level. So it would be actually more conservative or more pessimistic to just look at this as a potential partial. This would have been a great trade. Very small move, very tight stop loss for the PM session. And you also had another successful winning opportunity right after NASDAQ took out the lunch high, finally invalidating the SMT, yet the framework is still valid. And once again, of course, you do have that recent important swing, and you can use as well standard deviations in confluence with key levels of liquidity to look for partials. Pretty straightforward, a shit show of a PM session overall, but still that's a lot of opportunity. What do I mean by a shit show? Back and forth, right? That's it, just back and forth. But who said you can't make money when the markets are ranging? I can tell you it's not me. I've always loved them. Of course, I prefer an expansion market. That gives me a lot more opportunity, but a ranging market is fine by me. I can make money in any market. That is my belief. Do we have any final questions for the day, right? Longs offered in the morning, shorts offered in the PM. One opportunity for a loss here, and only winning trades in the morning. Small trade if you saw the SMT, took that 10.18, and a better trade, well, not better trade, a trade resulting in better results. That sounded so bad. But another long in the morning that would have been successful, even in some higher resistance daily profiles. And I'm not seeing anyone type, so I'm guessing all was pretty clear. I am open for additional questions. We got a little bit of time left. That's a, 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 that's a. Give you guys a sec, seeing a lot of people type. Not press on time, as I said. Very, very informative. That was great. Appreciate the feedback. Do appreciate it very much. I loved yours from last time. I think it was my first time joining DTT Discord call. I'm not going to lie. But definitely will be coming by more often. That's a... Really appreciate you actually answering our tickets and questions. Yeah, well, as you saw, that's a... I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I do apologize if I'm blundering it. But it does take me sometimes. Sometimes I'm a little bit slow to answer the tickets, right? You might have to wait a day. But I do take my time to actually provide you with a valuable answer instead of just saying, hey, look there, right? So I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad I can be of service. All good, nice reviews. Love it. On that note, I'm going to wish you all a great, great night. We're not going to have any other price action reviews for the week, so I'll see you all on Sunday, or feel free to tag me in chat tomorrow. I will be there. You guys have a good one.